Hi, Dr. Marraccini.
I am your professional fitness coach, Roy Jeffrey.
And we are MenoStrong.
Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Marraccini. In our prior podcasts on MenoStrong, my partner and I, Roy Jeffrey, have addressed the various issues related to perimenopause and menopause and beyond. So in this particular episode, I'm going to address one of the other elephants in the room, which is namely sexuality and physicality as we age. This is really a transitional period in our health. So what's the biggest sex organ? We all know it's in our brain, not really physical, but the physical health and our physical conditioning impacts on our sexuality. So the important thing is for the optimization of our health, we need to really focus on everything we can do to be in power and in control of our physical and sexual health as we get older. Those things include being conditioned, working out, doing some kind of exercise, which is good for everything, so it's not all about sex, but also to have our mental strength as optimal as we can, as possible. So that would maybe include some therapy if there's issues going on with yourself or a partner, and something to make your union stronger. So as far as physical health, I suggest that you not only stay in an exercise program, you do it appropriate for your ability, but don't underestimate your ability. As far as you have arthritis, you can do some low impact exercise, you get the guidance of a trainer, you go to a physical therapist, you talk to your primary care provider, and you get some guidance here. So you don't go it alone, but don't say you can't do it. There are other things to assess. In other words, if you have arthritis or you have cardiac conditions, you want to look into those and see what your capability is. But see if you can optimize those conditions. If you have medications, sometimes medication is limiting your ability to perform. And sometimes people are taking too many medicines, or they're medications that interact, or maybe you don't need them anymore. So periodically, those really need to be assessed. And when I say medications, you really should have a list of your medications as well as your supplements. Many people, when they give me a list of medications, they don't list their supplements that I'm very interested in. And also, many people don't list their transdermal products that are transdermal medications like hormone patches or cardiac transdermal medications, as well as injectable medications. So many women are getting injectable bone medications for osteoporosis, for example. So we want to hear about all of them. You should take some time and make a list of all of those, and it's really nice if you bring them in so we can completely assess your health when you come in. This way we can give you the best advice as far as things to do for your own health. The other thing is that if you want to have sexual performance, you should be honest with your provider. I mean, if you don't, and if you have that kind of relationship and you're happy to have a friendly relationship with your partner and that's a mutual desire, great. If you guys are, mutual friends, fine. If you want more than that, you should really express it. There are ways to help. I mean, if you have an erectile problem, if a male has an erectile problem, there are many products, but they're not suitable for everybody. Not all these blue pills, etc., are appropriate for people, for example, with cardiac conditions. And you should be cleared for that to make sure that nothing bad will happen. For women, of course, as they get older, vaginal dryness is an issue, but we don't just prescribe medications for vaginal dryness for everybody or the same product. So sometimes it'll be vaginal estrogen. There are also what's called hyaluronic acid derivatives that are available over the counter online, and they help become collagen and help the elasticity of the vagina. Remember, we're also prescribing these medicines when people say, oh, I'm not having intercourse, or I don't need those products. It's also to prevent urinary tract infections and to also prevent urinary incontinence. So my partner Roy discussed this on the last episode, pelvic floor. Very important for the pelvic floor to help the elasticity of the vagina. And remember, the estrogen receptors are also on the urethra, which is the opening to the bladder. And if the urethra gets baggy or soggy, it doesn't hold a bacteria from coming in, and it lets the urine out. So this is a part and parcel of helping the pelvic floor. So we even give very old ladies, we give them vaginal estrogen, for example, to help the pelvic floor. And they don't need to be having intercourse. They could be a nun in the convent and they're going to get vaginal estrogen or some form of some treatment to help the pelvic floor. Not to mention, of course, the exercises that we discussed last episode. So if you didn't see that episode, it was really great. And I hope you rewind or tune into that. So in addition to helping physically, there's communication with your partner. So if you do want to have intercourse, communicate with your partner. You may have gone years, you were raising kids, you weren't having sex, you weren't thinking about it, weren't talking about it, you were in the business of raising a family. So you may have to have that conversation. If you're still in the mood and you want to do it, have the conversation. You might have to go to a sex counselor, or you just have to say, I find you desirable and I still want to have that type of relationship with you. And you can explore that relationship either with the assistance of a counselor or just by, I find you attractive. Sometimes it only takes saying, I find you attractive to the other person. Or express to them, you never tell me I look good. And so you have to sometimes verbalize those things. And it's hard to do, or after years of maybe never doing it, you might have to say it. So it's, of course, a lot about, communication. And this is all part of intimacy. So it's all in what, of course, you make it. And then it's about, again, mutual interest, self-esteem. If you've had self-esteem issues all along, you might want to get some help with that. And above all, you eliminate the noise in your head. If there's a lot of stuff going on around you, you've got to make personal time for intimacy. Can't have Fox News or CNN or whatever going on in the background. You've got to set up a nice environment. It's just like when we tell people, if you can't go to sleep, you need to practice sleep hygiene. That means you've got to put on relaxing music, not have words on. You have to create a quiet environment to help create a situation that's conducive to sleep. So if you want to have a nice, healthy sexual relationship, you have to create an environment conducive to having sex. Or maybe you have to have a little mini honeymoon or a day away or something like that. A lot of people are in a situation now, depending on what their age group is, kids are out of the house. And sometimes they don't even know what to do with themselves because now they didn't have the noise of children in the household. So they now have to face their other issues that they weren't dealing with before. So we have the mental issues, or the personal issues, the physical issues, and the physical issues, are not so cumbersome that we can't deal with those. So it's very important that you seek help from your primary care provider, and don't be shy about that. And don't be embarrassed with your partner, like, I can't move as well as I used to. By and large, your partner can't move that well either. But, with a guidance, with a trainer, with a physical therapist, we can help you get better mobility. And you need that mobility anyway. You need mobility for your daily life to not fall. And it's better for everything all around. We are going to have more episodes that are going to deal with these topics, including more exercises for pelvic health, more exercises for balance, and a diet as you get older, things to address. It's not everything is about, protein. You have to have some fat in your diet. So we're going to address some of these things as we go on. Please keep those comments and questions coming, and subscribe, please. Thank you.
We really appreciate you listening to our podcast. Do us a really big favor and share this podcast with others. And you can do us a really big favor by being a follower. Follow our podcast, subscribe. Thank you so much. Until next time.